These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
I was happy to be in the locker room with Kyrie and KD. And Bron was my captain. You know what I'm saying? But when I went in the locker room, it was Kyrie and KD right next to me. That was pretty exciting.
And what's your relationship like with LeBron, him picking you, first for reserve?
It was dope. Our relationship is super tight. He showed love. He picked me with the first pick. I ain't get him a win. I feel bad, but, it's still love.
So much happening in that clip. Did you see the shirt that Anthony Edwards was wearing?
Couldn't really tell.
You guys didn't? You didn't see the?
Go back and
Go ahead. Just play a little bit of it.
I was happy to be in the locker room with Kyrie and KD. And Bron was my captain.
Oh, KG.
Oh,
that's
a little Kevin Garnett. I don't know. We just saw the letters, the tops of the letters, but it looks like Kevin Garnett. So Garnett tweeting about the Timberwolves last week.
Yeah.
Now Anthony Edwards wearing a Kevin Garnett shirt. LeBron James picking Anthony Edwards first in the All-Star Game draft last night. Interesting.
What are you thinking?
Well, I just think that.
I mean, something.
I think that.
Come on,
Anthony. I think Anthony Edwards is.
Say it.
Well, no. I guess what I'm saying is, I think Anthony Edwards is the fixer here.
That's what I'm asking.
In fact, this is a Statements Monday. I guess I'll just say it in statements form here.
Yeah.
Mackie and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment, speculation, therapy. Anthony Edwards has been validated. Not that he needed it. He's out there grinding every night, scoring 25 points. He's point ant. He's filling box scores. He's contributing to winning. But you got Kevin Garnett talking about culture changers in Minnesota on Twitter last week. And you got LeBron James. Of all those guys he could have selected as the captain, right? First overall pick, he picks the guy that was snubbed initially until Steph Curry's injury.
Yeah.
When LeBron James is sort of anointing you in front of that group of players and national audience,
yep.
and KG's tweeting about culture changes, I think it's time when guys like LeBron and KG are validating Anthony Edwards. I think it's time. If people aren't on the bandwagon already, this dude is him, as they would say.
Are you telling me that you think that there might be in a few years a super team with LeBron, Ant, and Bronny on it?
Well, so LeBron has said, so his contract with the Lakers runs for at least one more year after this, and he has purposely aligned his free agency with Bronny's draft class.
Yep.
Do we know where Bronny is supposed to go at this point? Is he like a lottery pick? I legitimately have no idea. He's a good basketball player.
I have no idea either.
Because the Wolves ain't going to be picking. No, the Wolves might not even have a pick. It depends on what year, because a lot of their picks have gone
I kind of think he's going to be a lottery pick, right?
So, LeBron's going to play on like a veteran's minimum contract, apparently, to just go play with his son.
Throwing it out there. Might be interesting.
Ant, Jaden, Bronny, LeBron.
An older LeBron.
KG back, jersey in the rafters, maybe consulting
Mark
in the
Laurie,
front office.
all his payments being made with A-Rod.
Or maybe without A-Rod.
A harmonic
really
convergence. Sure. A new arena going up downtown. Oh, my God.
I thought it was cool that LeBron said, hey, this guy right here, this guy who plays all the time, by the way, and this guy who posterizes, 3 defensive players every night, this is my number one pick. He could have picked Hall of Famers, like surefire right now if they retire Hall of Famers, and he picked Anthony Edwards last night. They lost the game, so maybe it was a bad draft pick.
All right. For my first statement, I will take your Ant love, and I will dial it up a notch by making this statement.
Trying to find the statement sounder here.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Transition.
I gave you a second. I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've looked at this particular button.
I didn't know if you were like pausing on purpose for me or what. So I just started. I just went. I bulled through. I bullied right through to the basket. My statement about Ant is this. He gets it. And Declan, if you could play the clip, here's why.
If there's anything I could change about the league to make it better, probably just all the guys sitting resting. That's the only thing I probably don't like. Just play, man. If you 80%, you got to play. I don't like all the sitting, missing games and stuff. Like these people might have enough money to come to one game. You know what I'm saying? And that might be the game they come to, and then you sitting out. You know what I'm saying? So I take pride in trying to play every game because I don't know, it might be one fan that has never seen me play, and I'm trying to play. So that's the only thing I don't like, guys just sitting out.
So this kid is 21. And you know what? He might not be all the time, for sure, the most mature guy off the floor. But for basketball purposes, what he is saying is incredibly, in my opinion, mature, accurate. Like if you think about what it costs, right? Like if you're a kid in, I don't know, say Atlanta, Georgia, and you grew up watching Ant, in college a little bit at the end or something, and you're just a huge Ant fan because that's how basketball works now. And he comes to your building one time, and that's a rest night for him.
Yeah.
A maintenance night for him. Like, and I get the pushback. Oh, Judd, you're an old man. Guys don't play all games now, blah, blah, blah. But this is a 21-year-old kid with a really, really good point, and that is you are largely there for the fans. The fans, to a certain degree, certainly pay the freight. I think that for him to come out and say that in a gathering with a lot of guys who rest a lot is really mature, and it's a breath of fresh air because I don't think a lot of people get what he just said.
And I agree with his point, and I agree with your point, but what I liked about it the best wasn't necessarily the point that was being made. Mm-hmm. I love that he's a 21-year-old kid still who's probably 5 years away from being in his prime in a setting, the All-Star game, in which, like I said before, he's around a bunch of Hall of Famers. He's around like Mount Rushmore guys, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, loud, outspoken players with platforms like Kyrie and whoever else, right? Giannis. And he says, hey, this trend that's happening, that's being perpetrated by Hall of Fame players,
right?
I disagree with it. I might only be 21 years old, but I'm confident enough and just sure enough in my thoughts and my process that I'm going to call these guys out on something that I think is stupid. To me, that's just another sign of him being the alpha of the Timberwolves and maybe at some point being the alpha of the NBA. I mean, it's a lot of things have to happen, but the more you see of his maturation on the court, off the court in 2023,
yep,
the more hope you have to have. I know, like, well, the Wolves gave up all this stuff for Gobert, but like, what are they going to do to Karl-Anthony Towns? Anthony Edwards is all that really matters.
This brings up a very intriguing conversation, too, because I've had this discussion before, and it's a little bit hard to articulate. But, I think that the reality is this. Off the court and away from sports, guys will disappoint you. I mean, they're young people, and they're going to do things. But there are certain guys, and Ant, in my opinion, fits into this, who in the business of his sport is really mature. So, like, he's done things, there's no question. His comments, I think it was last June or July, were wrong. He owned up to that, but those were upsetting, and I totally get that. And I'm saying holding him to a standard of, well, I just thought he was a super mature kid might be wrong, Phil. But I find it really intriguing that there are certain guys who really understand, they're not just smart players, but like their operation off the floor, but as players in thinking in that vein is really impressive. And Ant falls into that bin for me because how many times has he done basketball things or said things about his team or the game where you're like, that was really stupid? I can't think of one. And like you think of, and I don't mean to pick here, but you think of Cat, right? Like there's been stuff Cat does and you're like, what are you even doing?
I think it's perspective. It's being able to take, Cat he's not like the most mature guy, obviously, eating habits that have kind of come out or, the comments that he made that offended, rightfully so, the gay community like that you referenced. But he seems to be able to take a step back and kind of survey things,
yep,
learn from mistakes, soak things in. Perspective. He seems to have a lot of perspective for a 21-year-old. He seems a little bit wise beyond his years in that way. Mm-hmm. So thought that was pretty cool. He basically shoved it back on the Kawhis and even the LeBrons of the world and said, what you guys are doing is wrong, and here's why. Dex.
All right, my first statement. The winner of NBA All-Star Weekend was not Anthony Edwards. It was not anyone in the regular, All-Star game. You know who it was? The biggest winner of All-Star Weekend? Luka Garza. Luka Garza. I'm going down this path. All right, so Luka Garza was the MVP of the G League's Next Up game over the weekend. 23 points, 8 boards, 9 of 16 shooting from the floor. He's actually putting up insane numbers in G League with the Iowa Wolves, dude.
It's awesome.
He's scoring 29 points a game, 63% from the floor, and shooting 50% from 3.
Yeah, that's insane.
Get this dude some minutes up here.
Well, he does get minutes. He does get minutes.
He does.
Get minutes significantly up here. I don't need you in Iowa anymore. You're baking in Iowa and having fun. Yeah, that's good.
He's been here a lot.
But no, come back up here full time. Take some of this stuff and be integrated into this rotation a lot more. That's what I want to see. So you go dominate Iowa. That's fine. Now you're the MVP of the G League game on All-Star Weekend in Utah. The next step is being in Minnesota full time, being part of this rotation full time. Luka Garza, the biggest winner of All-Star Weekend.
I think they have so many bigs. Like he's at best he's the fourth guy, and when Cat comes back because they've got Naz Reid still and Rudy Gobert. So it's hard to find a lot of minutes for him. And there's been a couple games where he showed out big time in the NBA, but he's a little bit like a quad A baseball player right now, or when he goes down, he hits
Chris
like
Parmalee.
400. Yeah. Yep. He hits a bomb every night, and then he gets called up, and it's like he strikes out 3 times, but he did have a double, last
Hits
Tuesday.
a tray once
or
in a
whatever.
while.
Yeah. But there is some talent there. He was undrafted. They've done the organization, and there's been some different front offices here, but they found Naz Reid off the scrap heap. He was not drafted. Luka Garza, and like Josh Minott has been also excellent for the Iowa Wolves, and he's shown a couple flashes. So they've got some interesting, even if they don't have a lot of first-round draft picks going forward, they have some interesting young talent. Okay. I've been sitting on this one for a few days here because I was off the show on Friday last week, so this is like 3 days in the making. That loss to the Wizards last Thursday was the worst loss of the season.
It was awful.
What were they doing, for God's sakes? Like, they're up by 20. The game, 20 points early on. Let's just go flatten these guys. But you can't just let Bradley Beal, you can't just think, oh, the game's over. They have Bradley Beal, and that team has actually been one of the hotter teams in the NBA the last couple months or so. So that was just, I don't know if it's like coaching. It kind of feels like there's some Chris Finch stuff here. He's a great X's and O's coach at times. But why is the leadership among the coaching staff and on the team allowing that loss at home to happen going into the All-Star break? Kyle Anderson even missing a bunch of bunnies against the zone defense in the second half too. They just they couldn't figure out how to solve it.
Maddening.
Everything about that loss was pound your head against a brick wall, frustrating, and it cost them a chance to go 3 games above 500 for the first time all season. So just that was like 3 or 4 days ago, but that was a disaster loss.
What is this team's fear of success? What is this? Every time you're like to a point of, okay, I think they're on the right path here. Like, it's been a tough season, and I think they're on the right path. Like you just said.
It's weird.
And you lose that game.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And then, Mike Conley, who I still love that trade. But Mike Conley, you can't play 33 minutes and not score. And on the flip side,
you can.
Well, he did.
Yeah, it happened.
A lot of people have also used it to say, like, oh, there you go. So you wanted D'Lo traded for Conley. Well, D'Lo ain't it either. They were losing games like this all the time with D'Lo, too. At least Mike Conley has a chemistry with Rudy Gobert, and he's a professional defensive point guard, too. But Mike Conley, dude. And Mike Conley spoke afterwards and said, not that this is an excuse, but I literally haven't slept in 3 days. I'm trying to get my family settled in or, whatever. So he needed the All-Star break. But, okay, you got to come out blazing against the Hornets here in a couple days. I want to see these 0 for 6, 33-minute dud performances again from you, guy.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
My next Wolves statement is this. The seat should at least be hot for Chris Finch. I am so tired of, and the Wizards' loss is just the latest permeation of this season-long trend, of the Timberwolves seemingly losing interest in games that they should win, and at times win decidedly. And how many times, and I found it odd, but it felt like through the first 2 months of the season or so that Finchy would get up to the mic, and he never really gets pissed off. And which is fine. And he would say things like, yeah, I mean, we just have to be tougher. We just have to be a tougher team in the second half. We just have to do this. We just have to do that. Well, okay. And I know Cat's not playing, and that is a built-in excuse. But all of that being said, It's the NBA. It is now almost March, and you still are having the same exact problems against the same exact opponents. At some point in time, it's not just bad luck that crappy teams way too often beat you. At some point in time, that's just a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Chris Finch needs to be fired, but I think we need to look at this. Like, I don't want to see this just become, it was that type of season. When you look at games, like there are certain games that you should win. And the Wizards at home is a game, especially when you have a lead, that you should win. I believe it's Charlotte comes here on Friday night. That's a game I expect you to win. And I don't think that that's this, oh my God, no, they can't. Those are the type of games that I think that there is a certain expectation of effort and level of play for 4 quarters, 48 minutes, that fans and the team should expect. And I don't think Chris Finch gets a pass here.
No, I agree. I don't think he's like a cancerous problem like Tom Thibodeau became, where he was just divisive and players got sick of his bellowing. I think players like Chris Finch. I think he's a really smart coach. I've wondered this on Flagrant Howls with our guy Kyle. Is he just like a really good offensive coordinator that needs to be kind of the Robin on a coaching staff? Because they keep having these weird lapses in the second half. The fact that the Wizards zone flustered you to that extent in the fourth quarter, you can't figure it out. Really? Like, the Wolves have a deep enough team. Go to a different combination. Find a way to get Anthony Edwards some different looks or something. So I've wondered that about him. Is he just a really good offensive coordinator that players like and respect enough, or do they need to get someone else in here? And the name that, not that this is like a Hall of Fame, we're not talking Phil Jackson here, but Quinn Snyder would be the obvious option here, right? He was with the Jazz for 8 years, essentially during the Rudy Gobert run.
Right.
Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert, so he knows how to coach that. Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, maybe there's a comp there. There's guys like that sitting out there that if you feel like there just needs to be a new voice at some point. I don't think it's certainly not a mid-season change. This would be like an after-the-season evaluation. The other thing, too, is so they lost, 2 games to the Pistons. Mm-hmm. They blew a lead to the Hornets. The Wizards are a good team, but they've lost home games to the Magic and the Wizards, right? There's like 7 of these head-scratching losses for the Wolves.
Right.
And now, and maybe you have another one if you keep playing like this on Friday against Charlotte, but when you start to look at the schedule now, after that Charlotte game, they only have 6 home games the rest of the season. 7 home games the rest of the season. They play almost exclusively playoff teams going forward. There's like maybe 3 or 4 games against non-playoff teams, but they've got to play at Golden State. They got to play at desperate Los Angeles teams. They've got to play at Golden State again later on, at a Phoenix team that's going to have Kevin Durant ready to rock and roll. So if they wind up like, I don't think they're going to miss the play-in, but if they wind up as like the 9 seed instead of the 5 seed, you're going to look back at games like that Washington game and the Detroit games and just be like, what are we doing?
Yep.
Why are we doing this? All right.
Can I bring you guys a twin statement, actually? I know this is shocking for me to bring maybe a little optimism twin statement. Can I go down this path here? All right. My statement is no one wants to smoke. So I don't know if you guys saw Johan Duran bullpen session against Carlos Correa yesterday floating around on Twitter, but he struck him out twice, was pumping 102 miles per hour fastballs, curveballs at 90 miles per hour, and after the at-bat, Correa told the press that, holy crap, welcome back, I guess, basically is what Carlos Correa said after Duran was striking him out. I mean, the Twins have lacked the flamethrowers forever. Duran came up last year, was absolutely dynamite, a breath of fresh air in a bullpen that needs a lot of bullets. And my God, I'm so excited. He is probably one of the few players that I'm actually excited to see. I loved watching him in person last year. It's just refreshing for the Twins to actually have a legit flamethrower in the bullpen. And we're getting closer and closer now. I think we've honestly moved away from just, hey, closers pitch the 9th inning, right? They will not step into the game to the 9th inning. If there's a fire jam, if there's a jam in the 7th or 8th, bring in Duran. If this is the time to get those outs, bring him in. I'm excited to watch him, what he does in year 2, basically, with the Twins here, because, man, he is pumping so much smoke, and no one can really hit him, and the Twins bullpen is going to use him a lot.
It's the hardest throwing bullpen I think they've ever had. there's like 4 or 5 guys that average 97 miles per hour or more on their fastballs. It's ridiculous. And I think Duran averages 101 miles per hour last year on his 4-seam fastball. So I get it. I know we did that. We tried to do a Twin season preview episode last week, and you guys just, especially Judd, just decided that you're just going to be mad still.
I'm not mad.
Angry.
I rained on the parade, rightfully so. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm resigned.
Well, I know, but like this, don't you think that there's a difference between what this team looks like on paper compared to like what last year's team looked like going into the season on paper? Like Chris Archer, Dylan Bundy.
Yeah,
you knew those guys were going to be 4-inning starters.
Yep.
You don't feel a little different than a year ago?
I'm excited for baseball, but I'm always excited for baseball right now, and I'm trying to keep my feelings about that excitement very separate from the Twins' excitement. But yes, on paper,
so what, you're excited to watch like
they look good.
The Pirates and the
No, I'm
Padres?
excited for
Reds.
a pitch clock. I'm excited for a pitch clock. I'm excited for bigger bases. I'm excited for no shifts. I'm excited for balks to be called so managers can get thrown out left and right.
You're excited for balks
Yes,
to be
because
called?
managers will now be
Evening
thrown
Judd.
out again. It'll be great.
I like all the new rule changes. I don't know if we need more balks
Yeah.
in baseball.
But you know what I
what
want?
baseball is missing?
Yeah.
Will it make it
You know
more
what? I miss
exciting? A few more
confrontation.
balk calls.
I never realized this. I miss confrontation. I want confrontation back.
Evening Judd with a headline of basically praising Joe West for calling balks. You know, like that.
He's retired now. Or
That's what I will see.
Poor Joe West is retired now. I miss Joe West.
No one
Worst
misses Joe
worst
West.
strike zone I've ever seen outside of our guy Angel Hernandez.
They should name, you know how we name robots after people and like systems after people? Can we name the new, it's going to be here in like 2 years probably. Major League Baseball is going to have an electronic strike zone. Can we just call it the West?
Oh.
Or do we call it the Angel?
Oh, I think it's got to be the latter. I think it has to be the Angel.
The CB.
I believe we are going to get a electronic strike zone preview this summer in St. Paul. I think the Saints are one of the ballparks that are going to have it.
What are we so scared of? They've had the technology for 20 years. They've been putting K-zones on
Work
broadcasts.
the kinks out. Work the kinks out. Get it going.
Have we figured out how to adjust for the height of a battery yet? I know that was the
Well, you know
big
what? It's
concern
baseball.
like 10
they
years
actually
ago.
will screw this up, hopefully, though. But again, it'll cause confrontation. I just want more confrontation again.
I know you have twin statements in the bag, so you go next.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
The glasses are going on.
Yep. Because this statement brought to you by today's Star Tribune, because I just looked at this from Jim Souhan's column, Dateline, Fort Myers, FLA. Okay, I'm just going to read you the first graph, and my statement is this. This is why I am leery. Byron Buxton reported to Twins camp last week. In his first on-field appearance of the spring, he walked to left field at the Lee County Sports Complex and, wearing a long brace on his right knee, ran medium speed in 90-foot bursts, mimicking a base runner's motions in front of Nick, you're going to love this, Paparesta, the Twins' new head athletic trainer. His name is Nick, Paparesta.
Why is he wearing a knee brace?
Exactly. That was going to be my first point.
Well, we know
Because he's got
he has a chronic knee problem.
chronic
But they've
bad
never
knee.
said that.
No, they came out, I believe it was Rocco came out last June and said it's a chronic problem, because that was the first time that we got the word chronic actually dropped in. But my point is, if Byron Buxton is healthy and can play, or hell, if he can play 120 games, I like the Twins' chances a lot more. Michael A. Taylor is finally the type of guy that you should have behind Buxton, but he's not Buxton. And the less that Buxton can play center field, like if he's DHing more or something like that, it's going to diminish his value, which is why I told you I am leery. Yeah. I am leery before I get too excited. But let's not ignore the fact the head athletic trainer's name is Paparesta.
It is a great Greek. I'm assuming he's Greek, right?
Well, right. But I mean, is that not a guy that Rocco would love? Hey, Paparesta, who do we rest today?
I was looking at some photos this morning from, I think it's full squad workouts here now, right? Because it's pitchers and catchers reported on like Friday, and so I think everyone's down there. Yeah, everyone is down because it's a picture including Royce Lewis and Paul Molitor.
Yeah.
And my statement is, the Twins have an incredible ability to make awkward situations somehow not awkward. Gardy and Terry getting blown out, 10 years ago, and then they're just like, Terry's just back in the press box the next year, working for the Phillies, saying hi to everyone. Gardy comes back for events and stuff. Paul Molitor unceremoniously dumped on his ass because the front office had their views on player usage and in-game strategy, and Paul Molitor said, no, I'll look at your analytics, but I use my analytics, which are my brain and 50 years of baseball playing and coaching and everything. And they dumped him on his ass. He's just like still working for the organization. He's out there working with Royce Lewis and infielders and base running, working for Rocco. Does any other organization do this? Fire people, and then like 5 minutes later, they're just kind of back hanging out like, oh, sure.
Like,
come help you guys out.
So I think teams that have probably had falling out with star players eventually get those guys back, but I can't remember, or I don't know of a team that brings more guys they flat out fired back.
It's insane. I know, it's insane.
And I think I saw a note in Shooter a couple of weeks ago that they're now trying to actually hire Gardy to a position in the organization.
Oh my God.
And that's fine, because Gardy has decades of baseball experience. It's just kind of funny how, I don't know, these guys, maybe it's something I shouldn't laugh at. I should envy that there's just never any hard feelings. You can get fired and dumped on your ass and just, when's Twins Fest? I'll be there.
Yeah, sometimes don't you think it's best, though, just to part ways?
But you can't fully, that's the thing about Molitor. It's like Molitor is a Minnesotan. He lives here. He takes his kids to Twins games and stuff.
You fired Gardy after years. I was fine with that. Bye, Gardy. It's been great. Thank you.
Gardy also still lives in the Twin Cities. Isn't his son still managing, or did Toby get blown out?
No, okay. He's the AAA guy. I think Gardy's got the house in Oklahoma as well, right? He's got something, I think, down south as well, because he doesn't winter here, I'm sure.
Doesn't winter here.
He's not, Who winters here? Who doesn't have to?
Any other final Twins statements from you guys before we move on to the wild portion of the proceedings here?
No, I'm good on Twins.
Okay.